for a budget-only article, so nothing on the agenda tonight, we're gonna play with the budget. So I'll call the meeting to order. Any additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters and/or pressing matters that will require ratification at a future meeting?
I have none.
No. Anybody else? Hearing none, put on public comment. Doesn't look like anybody's here. We skip that and go right into the agenda. Department budget review, and it's going to do the highway. On the fold out is page 14, and in the back of your budget book, it's article number 10.
All the way back. A little.
Yeah, so do you want me to explain, hopefully the books have been helpful. This spreadsheet is of the entire town budget at the beginning. It's been updated since your last conversation, your last meetings. And then in each department section, there's another spreadsheet that's a subset of this, but they're the same numbers, just so you have them handy. And then you have the numbers to date in the current fiscal year, and then for departments where there's contracts that we thought would be relevant, you have contracts. And then if I can talk just a little bit about the schedule, we can go through January, the middle of January, for the budget review, and then we'll still have plenty of time to put the books together. If you want to talk about the other parts of the book, like the social service agencies, that's in here now. Normally you don't get that till later, or not normally. Last year we were scrambling, so hopefully we'll be less scrambling this year, and we can get you stuff when you need it.
How's that?
Okay? Yeah.
So currently, we're at 7.5 cents on the budget increase this year with the totals that we've got in front of us. 2 cents of which we can't do much about, what was voted at town meeting for the fire truck purchase. So that being said, we know the job ahead of us. So, anybody got any ideas on revenue? We can start with page 14. That's where the
I have a question.
after page 13 is the 14 is the schedule for revenue. Go ahead.
Did we get a response to Stefan's email questions?
Some of them.
Would be helpful with.
Yeah, we have some of them. Yeah, and can I just address the revenue question a little bit? I'd still like to talk more about the stormwater utility as a revenue. The 2 fire trucks, when we looked at the debt schedule, they're quite a bit of an increase in that's 2 cents. And we can actually refinance those, move them a year, so we can make a dent in next year's budget. And then there's also the BFEDA assessment that we can look at. So there are other sources of revenue that I think we should look at.
So up to 7.5% for we did touch. Is that what you just said?
Sorry?
Well, the fire trucks we couldn't touch plus the.
What we can do is say law, or you probably do, how to finance anything beyond 5 years, we need a full vote of the town. We could do that. But what would be simpler would be to refinance for 5 years, starting next year as year one instead of this year as year one. And we can do that through an article on the warning. So that way we can spread it out essentially 6 years is what we get. And we can also structure it so that it's more of a balloon payment at the end.
Yeah, so the 2 cents that Peter indicated we really couldn't touch, we have been researching and consulted with VLCT, and we can in fact refinance the fire trucks again for a 5-year period and have the first payment smaller and balloon at the end when our debt schedule starts to reduce. So we will be bringing those refinancing options to the approval.
And it would have to be approved by town meeting
By
also.
town meeting,
Did
but
we look
just-
into the balloon payment thing where we could do it for 5 years and then have the 5th year as a balloon, and then when that balloon showed up, we could refinance that balloon for another 5 years? That would stretch it out to 10. I don't know if we can do that.
So I don't think we can do that with the fire truck, but we can do that with other payments.
Well, we might be able to, because their life is that long. But we'll check that out,
I
sure.
mean,
Yeah,
we're
we'll,
gonna do
I
one
mean, we might as
year,
well have
we're gonna
options.
do it for 1 year, then we're gonna do another 5 years afterward. We're really not gonna be saving that much if we could, you know, get it down, so.
Well, we will save significantly for this fiscal year that we're budgeting, and then even years after that. Then our debt schedule, we have debts that are dropping off, so there's room to actually pay the balloon payment.
Yeah, 2023, it almost
Right.
goes in half, not quite in half.
Exactly.
And we don't want to necessarily do that
Right.
because, you know, we want to kind of budget for our debt.
Yeah, yeah, 2021 is the peak now, by a lot. So we
So-
want to even out those peaks.
We were
But-
just addressing the 2 cents to say, we actually can do something even about that 2 cents where we thought there was no.
Okay, so do you want the answers to the questions, or do you want to go?
What was this email? I don't remember seeing that.
You get the email from stuff?
Yeah.
No, I
When was it?
didn't have the thing in my thing there, and I couldn't figure
I
out.
know he asked
so
4 or
I
5 different questions.
Swapped out
It
there.
was questions about, like the number of grants, the amount of grants from Gary,
How many we actually-
projects, public
How many
works.
grants we got from Gary?
So I do have the, if you want to do the grants
What
information.
the, you know, what the total was, what it cost
Yeah.
us, you know, including the benefits and stuff.
This is the grant information. We'll have to just, we have several bits of information on the, on Public Works. I think you wanted the projects again,
Want me to
so,
read it?
I'm sorry?
Want me to read it?
Read what?
The email.
Well, no, just answer the questions one by one. That's
Okay. Well, we're leaving some stuff out, so see if we get
Well,
those.
look,
Yeah, we don't have everything, because we just got it this afternoon, and there was a lot of other things happening. But we can get that information, and it's not difficult to get. Oh, okay. Outside engineering, I don't know if we spent anything on outside engineering. I don't know if you had a chance to look at that. Okay, Public Works Director, last year there was discussion on the Public Works Director costs and Development Director costs, full-time, part-time. Tell me the impact of the three on the budget from a tax rate standpoint of view. So every $60,000 is a cent, roughly. So, as far as the development, why don't we do the Development Director first, and then Public Works. I'm sorry, do you want me? Sure.
So the development director, the increase from part-time to full-time would be approximately 70, you know, 3/4 of a penny. However, him moving to a full-time status would bring in more revenue than the cost. So, in addition to the revenue, it wouldn't just generate more revenue, we would also get a lot more for services in addition to the revenue, but we would also be able to bill for part of my salary and benefits as well, because the more administration, grant administration he can do, the more that I'm able to do. So essentially, it's a wash. If you want to talk dollar amount,
Those have been 30,
the
35.
the impact to move to full-time with benefits is roughly $30,000. However, we would see far more than that in revenue. So the impact to the taxpayers, there wouldn't be one. And in fact, it might relieve a small amount of tax burden.
And that's not just because of grants, but it's more because of administrative costs, which are already covered, and that's not a maybe. The administrative costs are for sure. So then the grants question is what I handed out to you.
Do we have a number on the administrative costs that have been reimbursed?
We do in the development section of the budget.
What does, for the match, hundreds of thousands mean?
Well, we can get, that's, we're gonna look at that.
match?
That's a different, that's on this thing, which I'll.
Yeah, we'll look at that. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
So, in the development budget, yeah, we're estimating 15,000 in grant administration revenue. And that would be based on Gary part-time. So we could adjust that if he were to be full-time.
And we actually might even have trouble getting it if he's part-time, just because of the constraints on his time.
And there's particular grants in the pipeline for next fiscal year.
Yeah, well,
Part of this is, the administration, a lot of it is pass-through grants.
right,
So it's not grants that we would apply for and maybe get, and that's why it's not, it's not questionable. This is grant administration that has to be done, and, we receive the funds, the grants distributed to us, and then it just passes through, and we distribute the money for these grants. So Chroma, the Robertson Paper Mill, things like that. So this isn't questionable, like grants you apply to and you may or may not get. This is grants that we administer.
and then there are old grants, like Howard Block, that we do not get reimbursed for, but we have to manage. So that takes a good chunk of Gary's time, it takes my time. So that's something just we need him to be here to do. We have obligations going back 30 years that we still have to fill out paperwork for. And if we don't, consequences are dire.
Okay, you have some questions on that sheet, Tom? for the-
Yeah, so
Is
this,
there, did we get a, besides Gary, did Public Works, where are the grants?
no, we don't have that, and we want it, or at least I don't think so. Yeah, where we can get it. And we also need to give you a list of RFPs, because that was, if you're talking value of the position, RFPs are as much of a value as grants. But did you want to talk about the development grants?
The match, hundreds of thousands, what does that mean?
Yeah, that means, that's not just town money, obviously, because there wasn't really much town money in it. That's other agencies, EPA. There were literally hundreds of thousands of dollars that other agencies put into that project. Some of these overlap. The Robertson Paper Mill, it's a super complicated mix of grants. And what Gary did, he just put this together this evening. You can see where he has grant application, then administration, program management. The key shows what he's doing. So with these Robertson Paper Mill ones, the RPM ones, it's a lot of administration and project or program management. So on the first page, it's really just Robertson Paper Mill. And then second page are some grants that we did not get. And this has been a good learning experience because when we don't have much of a match or even no match, or if the match is in kind, we're really at a disadvantage because the granting agencies want to see that we have skin in the game and that we're putting something into it. So the ones we didn't get were low amount ones. We just found out today that we didn't get the Wyndham Regional Commission is the match. And again, the match wasn't from the town. That was the one, Susan, that we went to for the meeting earlier this month.
Oh, right.
For the
Oh, yeah, we didn't get that.
for it wasn't Robertson Paper Mill, it was
TLR.
TLR, yes. And what happened there, first of all, if we don't get it 1 year, it was our first year applying, Nathan Cleveland said, don't give up. One of the agencies that got funded this time, it was their fourth time. But our issue was local support. And what we showed as local support was that a couple of years ago at a town meeting, there was a motion to tear it down, and that was defeated, which was some support locally, but what would have made a bigger impression would have been if the town had said, we're willing to put $100,000 into saving these buildings, rather than just saying, no, we don't want them to be torn down. Because that's other communities that are applying for grants are actually putting money in as a match. So we need to, not now obviously, but at some point, need to make a decision on whether or not you do want to go forward with that project. Because if there isn't support, then it doesn't make sense to spend time going through the application process, because it is a pretty heavy process.
How long did they work on the grants for Roberts and Paper Mill?
Different people have been working for years.
So we've been working on it for years, but we got it this year. So I guess, is there, we had a similar discussion when discussing this position last year about we would get more than we would spend if we funded this position. So we have a comparison as to what we received in comparison to funding this position. Like you've said it again, that we'll get more if we go with full-time.
To supplement the difference between the full-time and the part-time.
Or even,
Well, the position's not 100%
2020.
paying for itself. What we're saying is the amount to take it from part-time to full-time, that full amount for the hours and the benefits will be covered by additional revenues that are brought in from his time. Not the whole position as a whole is not paying for itself. Just if we bring him in full-time, he will bring in enough revenue to cover that and more.
But the value of the position is long-term as well as short-term too, because he's setting the stage for redevelopment, and it's a lot of work. I mean, there's a lot to it. I mean, the BFADC, he supports that. There could actually be funding maybe, if we could find BFADC money from other agencies to support it, but it really needs to be full-time. There's a lot to do still.
Well, you also need to think more than just 1 grant, 1 month, 1 year. I mean, with a full-time position, if there's stability in a position, you can start making plans for the future.
Exactly,
And long-term.
And we do have a good strategy. We're working with Isaac Wagner, and so we have a multi-year strategy on all of these grants, because there's certain, like the one that we just applied to and didn't get. Now we need to decide, do we go for that one again, or do we maybe go to the train station, because the train station was the next one on our list, and I think that it really is going to be a policy decision, because it's going to depend on local support. I mean, what do the people care more about? The TLR buildings, the train station, it might be that kind of choice.
But lots of decisions where grants are based on stability. We saw that with the bonds bank alone, having stability and long-term and people and plans in place, our chances are less to get these development grants if we don't have a full-time person. That does play into the equation of the decision maker.
How much cooperation we get from BDCC? They're regional. I mean, you look at what's going on in Springfield, and they're using their regional development department as the key to get most of their money.
Yeah, they're supportive. I'm on the SEVEDS board now. Basically, they're the group to the SEVEDS.
But most of the people on BDCC are all from Brattleboro. I don't think there's anybody from up here on that board. So we really don't have a voice in the
Well,
squeaky wheel gets the grease sort of thing. But
they want us to be more involved. I mean, that was what they were telling me to get me on SEVEDS.
Truth be known, with that Robert paper, BDCC did the bulk of the work getting those grants.
Right.
It wasn't Gary's. I'm not trying to knock Gary, but I mean, BDC, if it wasn't for BDCC, that and Chroma would never materialize.
Right. Well, Gary wasn't here then, but they handed off the administration of it to us, which is good.
Because we had Shannon to help. I mean, Gary couldn't have done that on his own.
Right. Yeah.
But also Shannon can't do it without Gary. I mean,
Yeah.
we really need both
It's
of
a
them.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got the other one, you wanna beat up on that one? If not, well,
I guess I don't understand the answer to hundreds of thousands.
well, I think that's what goes back to the wiki.
I'm trying to get a comparison, I think, and it's not clear in this
We can make it more clear.
spreadsheet.
We can make it more clear.
We're not really here to do the
Well-
development anyway, but,
I mean, you basically want a cost benefit analysis of the position.
But I mean, you can't make a comparison because, I mean, you're talking about future grants as well. You're talking about, we don't
Right.
know yet what the
Well, we
grants
were
are.
told during discussion that we would receive these things, so I'm looking at moving forward with funding it again, what we received.
I think one
In
of,
support of the position, what did we receive?
I think one of the things we're looking, or you're trying to do is say, it cost us this much this year, and how much did we receive this year? But the work that's done in a fiscal year, we don't necessarily, we're not handed the value of that immediately. These things are projects or grants that take place over time. And so we could give you, you know, say, applying for this grant, and this is the administration, and this is what would happen over a 3-year period or something like that, but not all of it is an immediate, hardly any of it will take place in the same fiscal year as the expense.
Right, but we also received many without that position.
Many grants?
No, we
Yeah,
always
but
do.
not that many. I mean, BDCC helped before.
Correct.
Yeah, I can tell you, it will not be, it's not financially beneficial to not have that position. We're better off financially, but we'll get you more information. We weren't going to do this tonight anyway, so that wasn't the plan. But we can get you more information.
Okay. Got a question on page 14. How come we got 2 classifications for a class 2 paving grant? We got one that ends in 1022 and one at 86. And on the 86 line, it says not anticipated. On the 22 line, we've got 25,000, the 157, almost 157.7 in 2019. So can somebody explain what the difference is between those two, or?
I'm not sure what you're.
So the one that says FY '21 not anticipated, that's second to the bottom, right? I
Yeah.
think that's the,
If you look at,
I think that's the square.
Peterson's, paving grant right here, not
That's just-
anticipated, okay.
Yeah.
Then you go up here to this one, where we got $157,000. We've got a little account here. There's another one that says, paving grant. and
Class
then-
2 paving grant.
Yeah, right up there, it says 157, so.
I think one
What's
of them
what's
is.
in between the two of them? They got these in account numbers. We got money in one and not in the other, I mean, doesn't make much sense to me. I assume we're gonna apply for it, it does say we're not gonna get anything until 23 or something, not supposedly.
So I'd like to answer that. The square was applied for, which is before all of us were here, the 3 of us. That was applied for downtown paving, 175,000 budget FY18. You see the actual was 0. We did not get the full 175 because there was only so much that was applicable. There's downtown Westminster Street, but we couldn't stretch it beyond that. We could not stretch it up 121.
That's
Old
what
terrace.
we
So,
couldn't reimburse them for.
Right, we were able to get 157,689. That was an actual. It should have been on one line item, so
I can merge those lines.
we can merge those, that would
The
be
chart of
better.
accounts here is just horrific. There's multiple lines for multiple things. That's supposed to be one line.
Well,
So
that's
thank
what-
you
that's
for
what I was
catching
questioning.
that.
They're
Yeah.
both saying the same thing, only got 2 different ending numbers on them. One's
So I will move the 157, 689 down to where you see the 175. We ended
Yeah,
up,
well, it's just
Yeah.
confusing to have it both places.
Yeah.
When you got one that says you got 100, then 157, then the other one says not anticipated, so why aren't they on the same line, I guess, that's what
Okay,
it is.
so they're,
Yeah, good catch.
duplicate accounts.
So we'll go into the 86 one, yeah, okay, good. All right, so,
Anybody
So
else
we're gonna do highway?
on revenue?
oh, I just have a little thing on revenue. What we charge for the the road permit is not enough.
We're getting to that. I was gonna,
Okay.
that's on my list.
Okay,
I
good.
went through that again today. yeah, right now, I guess they charge,
$100.
$100 for the permit, I guess.
The highway access permit fee,
Yeah.
that's what we're talking
And
about?
the drive, I think there's a work in the right of way permit.
That's
Yeah,
And
that's
then when the work's complete, we give the money back.
Yeah,
To me, I think I agree with you that it's kind of,
it's ridiculous.
why are we giving it back?
Yeah, maybe for a residential person, you know, with a little driveway or something, but for someone who's gonna cut something in the square,
Well,
we
yeah.
need to have a deposit, and it needs to cover our costs, and it needs to be
Yeah,
some
$100 would
serious
make it.
amount.
It's-
I
Yeah,
mean,
there's
you're not gonna make millions off it, but I think it's a.
But it should cover our costs, and we should
And
have
then
a
you got,
deposit. in
you
case
got a
something
highway
goes
access
wrong.
permit, which I assume are driveway permits.
Yeah,
So what do we charge them, like $25 for that one or something?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at least
Yes.
cover the time, because you have to, I mean, it involves your time and Mike's
So
time.
he and Mike both go out there. to
And
look at-
Chuck sometimes, depending what it
Yeah.
is.
Oh, yeah, there's some.
And sometimes water, I mean, utilities.
And that's a fee we can set, there's no.
Yeah, we can
statute.
set it, yeah, and that's what,
Yeah.
maybe we should start thinking about that, because it's not a big source of revenue, but it depends if you have 50 people lined up, yeah, you can make some money, but if you only got one or two, but still, why would, you know, it doesn't make sense to give back to them. I mean, they are accessing, if something happens later on, they're not gonna fix it, we have to go back and fix the problem, so. I think we ought to anticipate going out the extra expense and the cost of the town to deal with that.
Yep, we look at all of them.
So-
Yeah. Okay.
So you guys wanna come up with some numbers? You want us to come up with some numbers?
What, for the fees?
Yeah.
We can do it.
Just get,
I mean, I was-
estimate something, I mean, I don't know.
And if you want to, you
What do you
can.
think? I mean, I don't know, $500 is a little bit overextending.
I think it should depend on the scope of work.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, we'll have
depending
like
depending on the case, I would assume, I mean, like a commercial.
and the location, like something in the square, yeah.
You know, we're-
Cost more. Yeah, like how much traffic is gonna be disturbed, length of time, I mean, we can come up with some criteria.
I think maybe review non-refundable portion and then plus something else, depending on what it is, and where it is, how
Okay.
much they're excavating.
Okay. All right, there's another one on revenue, but we'll get into that in executive session. There will be an quick executive session today for discussion on the bottom section and on an insurance contract. Okay, now we get to the fun part, expenses. Contracting services on page 15. You got $17,000 increase there. They're surveying, what are we surveying, I guess? 15,000.
Yeah, that's not an increase, it's a carryover from last year. So basically, this is the one RFP I have not had a chance to write. This is getting started on a lot of what the right-of-ways are around town. There's so many unknowns, even Burt, Lake and Park, the right-of-way stuff should have happened a year ago, never did. A lot of stuff. High Hill, we do High Hill improvements next year, we ought to know what the right-of-ways are going in. So every project prior to, we should know what they are, but at some point, while we still have a fairly young surveyor here, we'd like to be able to hand over some type of right-of-way maps to a future generation so that they're not always second guessing, or they can actually meet someone in the field, let them know what we have, what we can do, and what they can do. Because it is a hit or miss. It's not a simple three-rod right-of-way thing.
I know, there's 5 of them out back in Turk, because when we're doing the fire building out there, there's no sense in any of them, but.
And the only one I know that we actually own is on our right-of-way up Grizzle Drive. The rest are anywhere from 2 rods, unknown, it could be 3. If it's unknown, it's 3 rods.
Yeah.
But then some of the gravel dirt roads, if it's been known to be in or past, based on stone walls, it's not a simple in the middle of the road. I mean, there's a lot of input that's really needed on this. And, so that is the one RFP that's we'll hopefully get out soon to start the process from this year's budget. And like to continue and carry it on for the next few years. You know, it's gonna need a multi-year attempt.
Well, how much did we get done last
No,
year?
like I said, I haven't had a chance.
Okay,
All the RFPs, I haven't put that one out yet.
right. But I thought we talked about that, or that was an important thing we'd like to accomplish before
Right.
people move on.
Right. No, it is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, it's just, we've had a bunch of other things going on, it hasn't been, we've had projects to get done construction wise first.
Right.
This is the one in the winter, so now's the time to put this one out.
Okay, how about outside services roads? You got, in the description column, we got 3 items there that added to 35,000, yet we're projecting 70. I know, looking back, the last year, 2019, was 68.7.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, where?
Okay, so that's
On
actually
page
missing.
15.
Yeah, halfway down, okay.
So that's actually 1, 1, 2, 12, 55, 56. That's missing some description items there. I think Shane's got it in the computer now, but they're not on your latest printout. So the catch basin line, drain line cleaning is 20 grand, drain line TV work should be 10 grand, tree work 10 grand, snow removal 20 grand, fog lines 10,000, crack filling 10,000. So I go up 80,000, but my recommendation, that's the one line item I'd like to see bumped up. We need to actually do more on televising drain lines, which we haven't been doing enough, so that way we can pick up on things like high flow drainage, the more TV work we do. Now, there's a substantial amount of infrastructure here that we're not televising. You know, there could be some issues going on too. You know, with pipes that we don't know about. And televising is the only way you're gonna know is to get in there and see what you got. And especially try to do it years ahead of a project. So if you can be 1 or 2 years ahead of a project, you know there's something else that you need to address in there.
What was the last
So-
one after fog line, sorry? I missed it.
Fog line 10,000 and crack filling 10,000. So my recommendation is to go from 70 to 80. And some of this, the reason it dropped down from 100,000,
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
because we were expecting the Vector truck. That never happened.
Now, the next one down, you've got bridges here, outside services, bridges, head wall work. You're estimating 15 grand or 15,000.
Yep.
What are we doing?
So that's at Route 121. We did not get the grant last year, so it's Route 121 head wall out there.
Okay, well, that's why when it says bridges, that's why,
Yeah.
that's more of a culvert.
Well, it's a good size one, yeah. Probably.
Okay, so what do we want to do with Depot Street Bridge? We've got to start figuring something, what do we, is that one at, 110,000 or something?
Yeah, it's a little bit more. I put it, I was looking at it on the debt schedule.
Yeah.
Because we got to think about that.
Right, exactly, that's what we were
When's
starting.
that, 2023, that's coming up?
Yep, or
Supposed to-
2024, our year 2024.
Oh, okay, 2024, okay.
So we were just talking about maybe saving half of it
Well, that's
and
what I
then
was,
financing the other half.
yeah.
Just because probably trying to save all of it at this point is
Well, yeah,
not
yeah,
gonna be
that's what I
possible.
say here. I don't remember what the number was off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's 320,000. The way I've been keeping track of that is on the debt schedule, trying to figure out a reasonable projection, so we can go to that at some point. At some point, I'd like to talk about this, the debt schedule some more.
We'll get there.
Okay,
Back on that one.
but yeah, that's where we're looking at the Depot Street.
One of the things Wendy and I talked about earlier was, it started with something, where if we start with, say, 20 this year, so give you 20 this year, up it by 10 next year, go 20, 30, 40, 50, that'll give you 140 by the time they build a bridge. We'll have, that's be roughly half. So it's or you can go 10, 20, 30, 40. It's just somewhere to start, but starting on 20 might be kind of a better number, if you're just about halfway there.
Right, but right now we just have one.
Yeah, what,
in-
right.
Do we want to just roll this into the budget, or do we want to put an article on the town warning for it?
Yeah, I guess we.
We should have something in the budget, just so we start, because they haven't gotten us the schedule yet, but there's gonna be some sort of preliminary engineering too, that they'll likely need us to chip in for. So probably somewhere between either 10 or 20, I think would make sense here.
Yeah.
Do you wanna have a placeholder and then we
I
can
put 10 as a placeholder.
What did you say?
10 for a placeholder.
Yeah, we can start with 10, I thought maybe 20.
Well, 20 would be good too, but
But
I mean,
we
we're
gotta see
having
where
to
we
give
end
a
up.
high
Because
hit this year
we're
with
2
desert.
cents in the increase in the highway budget right now, so we gotta watch where we're going here.
It's just that next year,
Yeah, we
our
need to
debt
go the other
service goes
direction.
lower.
We need to go the other direction.
Right, but we
You
know
got
we're
any
gonna have
ideas?
to
I
pay.
do.
Well, we'll get,
I thought, you just
Shoot
seemed to
out.
be going on, so I was
Well,
wondering if you
speak
were.
up, all you have to do is speak up.
Oh,
I mean, it's just going through my notes, but that doesn't mean, you guys can't throw anything on the table,
Yeah, why don't we go for Peters and then we'll,
because we're on page 15. You got side contract, down on sidewalks there, sidewalk replacement, that 50,000 out there. Now, the 6,000, I remember, was when we did the sidewalks, and that was just the cost of concrete, the labor was done through the town,
That's correct.
if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So, what do we plan on doing? We haven't done anything besides the river. Just curious where.
we already have that funded.
Yeah, this year we'll do some
I
inspection
know we got
in the
some
spring.
Spring out there, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
So. Okay. You got questions?
I don't have any questions, no.
Well, comments?
Nope.
Wait, so you wanna leave that 50 there? Cause that was,
We can leave it there as a placeholder, I think, and to decide if we want to do anything with it, if we have to get to a cut.
and we do have, the sidewalk cost comparisons for you
Yeah.
that we can talk about. You got, I think, last time.
Do we have an
and in
idea
the
of what
packet.
sidewalks we'll be looking at?
Well, looking at the section in front of Canal House, you're not talking major, that's 150 feet maybe, and over there by 7-Eleven, those two in particular.
Yeah.
And then there's a few others around town. One of these days we'll get through the budgeting and we'll try to finish that map.
Can we get a list of them, just so we gotta give some idea what, an estimate of what the cost will be on those?
Yeah,
In case we get to the point that we want to do one and not the other, or whatever, two.
right.
Didn't you have to line up, schedule with Canal House owners? so they could-
And I've already talked to them.
Done?
We were ready to do that this year. And I talked to them, I said, well, if we're gonna do our sidewalk, we're gonna do our sidewalk with a proper pitch, according to the foot, which means it's gonna drop the back edge down, and you don't wanna be steep, making that steeper over a distance of 1 foot or 2 feet. So they've got some issues that they need to work out internally. I don't mind working with them, with the town, because we're changing it, but I don't wanna go all the way to the building to make it right. So I think we're trying to work with them so that maybe it's a little bit of contract, maybe we help them relay some brick with one of their guys, or a contract service guy working with us, because we are changing it, but it's probably closer to 1/2 inch per foot right now. It's quite a bit of steep, sharp pitch, and 88 goes out 1/4 inch per foot, 2% grade. So there are some issues, and but they're not all of our issues. It's trying to work together with them.
So we'll work on that in the spring, right? Is that still the
Well,
plan?
it's still in there. It's actually. in the
But they
plan
have
now.
to
It's
do it. But we can work on it in the spring if they're
We
ready
could,
to go,
exactly.
right? Okay.
spring at this. Well, right now there's no money in that budget, so it'd be July.
Oh, okay.
The only other area I see there's any large increase on this, on 15 is the pavement maintenance. I know we talked about that for a couple of years here, going to 400,000 this year, which is a $50,000 a penny. But,
that's this check.
and that doesn't include Pleasant Valley Road from what the note says here.
That's correct. Yeah. And you should have.
So what we're
did you
gonna-
all get this?
Yeah, what we
Copy.
gonna, yeah, we got that. What we gonna do on Pleasant Valley Road if we get to that point? We finish it or?
Not this year.
No, I just.
We could. I mean, right now Pleasant Valley is coming up in about 2 or 3 years. My recommendation at this point, if there's something that really needs it, we could maybe drag him a couple spots. See how it goes, and see if we can buy that time from that 2 or 3 years before we dump much money into it. So we're not, putting in.
Yeah, that's
more
what we
capital.
talked about last year, doing that work to get us till we do total reconstruction.
Right. Well, last year we did talk about maybe a 2-year plan, do half this year and half next year.
But we went a little further this year.
No, we did, still did half. We did it.
We did more than we had originally anticipated. We increased the funding to go a little
Oh,
further. When we
okay.
talked about that whole purpose,
That's right.
not
from the.
fixing something that we're gonna do total reconstruction, trying to get by. So do you have a plan for that added 50,000 for that? Like if we don't have if it's
Oh,
not-
yeah, we have the RSMS, can you
Yes.
guys?
He's got
We
that
got last
Yeah.
week.
paving sheet there in
That
section.
should be all, I can make extra copies of
The
this.
roads
This
they're gonna do.
Town of Rockingham paving calculations for summer 2020. I can run more copies, you all have that?
Yeah, we got it last week. Has it changed?
Well, what's on there that you could cut 50,000 from?
Well, anything we cut, because as it is now, we cut our mill last year, that's still off the list. If we were to cut something here, we're basically shuffling all of our SMS, we're kicking everything out. So a lot of those we're trying to preserve. Not saying, but to answer your question,
You have $400,000 worth of work on that sheet
Yeah.
you're looking at?
we're at 400,000 yep on that sheet.
445,000.
Well, 440, well, the 445 was the extra 49, 494 where bids came in, we could try to get a couple of shims done. Those are kind of hopeful items. Items that aren't in the RSMS, but could use some work.
What was the, sorry, go ahead.
Look at the RSMS calls out for $410,000. This is actually at 400,000. I don't take it.
What's the Grizzle Drive portion? Like, I think that was part of Stefan's question as well. What's Grizzle Drive 83? Is that,
That's an inch and a quarter overlay followed by chip seal. The last time
when's it scheduled to be?
oh, it's way out there, Pat, way beyond 2030. And we rebuilt, it's a long ways. You've got 121 between Saxor and Bells Falls first, you've got Pleasant Valley Road, so you're probably talking 2040, 2050.
Yeah, that's on this sheet is in section 4, which is the, capital roads. Planning, Griswold Drive's at the bottom of it. And it's so far out, it's not even, it's like 2034,
Well, or beyond.
or beyond.
So
Yeah.
we weren't gonna, we did talk
The
last year,
reconstruction of it, I'm sorry.
right, but we also talked about just doing the chip seal, trying to buy maybe 10 more years or something.
Yeah, the only way, chip seals by itself are not, it's in condition enough, you do not want to just chip seal it. We bought 18 years last time we did it, it was 2002, we actually shimmed it, or one inch overlay, maybe an inch and a quarter, but it was a heavy inch, followed by chip seal, we bought 18 years out of it. At that point, we told people we'll get 10 to 12. So we bought a lot more time out of it than we anticipated. And so I think we could actually probably buy another potentially 18 years to get us out beyond 2034. Because Pleasant Valley Road and 121, there's some, you're talking over $10 million between those two. That's some major dollars.
Between which two?
Pleasant Valley Road and 121,
Oh.
between Bells Falls and Sax River, so you're talking some, there's still some gravel stuff, like I mentioned, the RSMS, where we might go mine, talk to the stream alteration and mine some of the gravel from the river that's still sitting there, if we can find a place to mine it close by, process it, use that as a base gravel, followed by the dense grade on top. You know, it'd be a nice clean wash gravel, and that'll save you, a ton of money there. And maybe by the time 121's done, I doubt it's gonna happen now, but you'll know Sax River once there, consider sewer line through there, or a water line.
You're, looking at your paving sheet that you just,
Yeah.
little streets on it. You're looking at Brockway Mills Road, Shimon, some up there?
Yeah, the far last 9/10 of a mile is, we use some shimmy before we chip seal it.
Okay, but you got $87,000 worth of chip sealing going on here.
Right, and that's the chip seal remainder, reserve that road.
9/10 of a mile?
No, that's actually for almost 2 miles, 9,800 feet. So if you look at the first one, the shim, that's for 4,750 feet,
Yeah.
okay? I just kind of rubbed in a half inch on the average. That's 330 tons, 331.
When was the rest of it done? How many years ago?
3 or 4. The
No, it's
shim?
been 6, 7 years, probably.
Shim and chip seal.
Oh, no, we just did, there was no shim and chip seal on, it was reconstructed in 11, 12, 13.
Because I was gonna say, because we still got the bond going on.
It's
now.
still paying, yes, it
Yeah.
has like
Was it,
3 more
So, but
years.
it's been close to
Sure, I
7,
can
8
tell
years
you.
now.
How's the condition of that almost 2-mile stretch? Part that didn't get done.
You could use it, chip seal, right now. If you preserve it now, you'll get to the point, you could, maybe not touch it for another 12 years. 12 or 15 years.
Yeah, 2011, it looks like it.
And that was the plan all along, is to preserve, what's the point of it? Preserve it. And that's what they're teaching. There's been different seminars lately. Someone just told me this the other day. Paving is now all about preservation. Still got to do some reconstruction, but you've got to preserve what you got. It's key.
Yeah,
What about Atchison Hollow Road? Why, I have a question. Why is that paved to begin with, that hill? Do we know why?
Yeah,
Because of the
it's
hill.
narrow,
the hill,
it's steep, it's,
it washed out all the
Yeah,
time.
that
Couldn't
would wash
reach
out.
So they paved the parkway to the.
the paved
Good
edge.
idea.
And then they put a ditch on one side, but that's what was causing the problem with the.
I know, it's full of leaves right now.
Yeah, it's definitely.
The culvert's
Okay.
full of leaves. But I just, alright. I don't see that.
That's all I can tell you. I'm
When
just
was it
sort of-
paved? Do we know when they did that?
96, I think. It's been a long time. They might have had a shim, partial shim after that at some point.
Right, oh yeah.
Because it was that, might have been 97 or 8, it was after Grafton washed out. Applied for mitigation grant, and did that project, back in, I think it was 96.
Yeah, the bottom, the only thing that's paved is the hill,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, because you got the
Yeah.
flat and then it goes up the hill. And
Yeah,
that
the flat's
hill is
fine.
pretty steep, it's like going across
What do
a.
you send 2 trucks out there when it snows? One with salt, one with sand?
Not at that point. I think it's just up on that area anyway, I'm not sure if it's too.
There you go.
So to answer your question, I don't know which one I'd have to pick if we were to cut. I'd have to think about that one. I guess Kingsport and Atchison Hollow Road, but it'd be nice to get at least one of them done. Probably Atchison Hollow Road, I do it hold off on Kingsport Road. That's 43,301. I'm just trying to keep them together. The more we try to keep things together down the road, it does pay off by the contractor not mobilizing as much. So I would put Kingsport Road South, item number 15 as the lowest priority. Keep in mind with the RSMS, it will affect everything we're trying to do, then it bounces everything else out. And every year from here on out, we're not gonna be where we like to be.
Yeah, because we're gonna be 50,000 less this year and next year.
Yeah, I gotta steal from another road next year. Right now, I'm already stealing from Darby Hill. I'll have to steal from that again next year. I'm stealing from Atchison Hollow Road. So it is a progressive,
So we're trying to get to a steady 500,000, that was the plan,
right.
and then you kind of keep it at that.
Go up to 500,000, then take the payoff of Rockingham Mills Road, and then roll that into the projects.
Now, Center Street. I don't know if you've been watching, but I know, when I visit some of my friends up there, the traffic on that's ridiculous. And that's getting beat up pretty bad. Can we?
Center Street is horrible.
Hmm?
Center Street is horrible.
Well, I know, that's what I said, that's what I was looking
Yeah.
at, can we trade one of those with something else
Yeah.
that may take a better, I mean, I was down on Barker Street looking at another situation down there, and that one's not in any great shapes either, especially when you get around the corner on the flats, like,
Right, well, it's horrible down there. The Barker Street area, they're all in there, not too many years to be reconstructed. So we'd like to hang in there. Center Street, I think that's in there eventually. That's why I've got it in there. The budget's allowed, but we've got, maybe hold off on the road section. There's a section around the corner from Sharp Corner, but
yeah, I just wondered if there's a lesser traveled road that we could switch out with that one. Or
Maybe.
maybe not, chip seal, or, chip seal something that, and do Center Street.
Randall Hill is one we could probably drag the push box up through and take her out. And that's not even on, bottom 4, they're not even on the list, really, for probably 400. Center Street. Yeah, it would be nice to get
If
it
you're on 13, about roughly 13,000 to shim that one, Center Street.
right.
And everybody uses that as a cut-through street now, so.
And the pavement's pretty thin. The guys just said they've dug there in the past, it's a couple inches, maybe an inch. I'm not sure how it's gonna hold them together right now. But
While we're talking about roads, can we talk about this?
Yeah.
This sheet? A little bit? It's, the last thing in section 4, the front section 4. And this is what I had hoped to have an updated version by tonight, but I don't. But we'll have an updated version soon, but we need to add Depot Street to this. So the top part of this, total paving and gravel budget, though, that's the numbers that we were just talking about, right, Everett?
419.
right, the 410 budget for all paving projects, and you see that under 2021, you see the 410, we're actually at 400. That was actually my fault when I put the budget together, I put 400 in there, because I remember the 50 every year. So the extra 10, put it 410 to Center Street.
Right, but just, and before we get to that, the, notice how much it jumps from 22 to 23? I don't know if that was with the bond.
No, it's not bond, is.
I
That's
mean,
actually,
with the bond expiring?
yeah, that's it. That's the bond expiring, and
Okay.
then the Class 2 grant. That'll be due by then,
Oh,
paving grant,
okay.
$175,000.
Assuming that, that program still exists.
And that's where we would do, well, I guess now's the time, there's different options now that Burke Lincoln Park is done.
Well, yeah, I want to talk about that a little
Okay.
bit.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we need to add in the bridge, because that will be a capital project. C on the proposed capital projects, the 5th one down is Burke Lake Park. That was the cost in the year this was done, which is 2 years ago, right? Was projected to be, a year and a half ago, okay, 430,000. We actually got that done for less than 300,000 because we did it with the utilities. So this just shows the value of coordinating the public works schedule with the utilities, because obviously they had to pay to put the pavement back. And so, because Ever was here and the position exists, we were able to do this. If he hadn't been here or someone in that position, we wouldn't have been able to coordinate, because it was a lot of work to put together that portion of the Burke Lake project and keep tabs on it. And it was also changing in the middle of the project. We thought we need a retaining wall at the hill that's at the top of Birch Street. We ended up being able to do it with basically a high curb. And there was some other on Blake Street. We managed to do elevations just very exactly so that you could do a high curb instead of a retaining wall to save costs.
It looks like you need a retaining wall.
That one,
Well, one of them, I mean, there's
the-
two, but
yeah,
there's
I
two
know.
parts, right?
Yeah, the first part should work right on Upper Burke.
Oh, the other one's gonna be a retaining wall?
Right now, maybe, don't know
All
yet.
right, well, we're hoping, but I guess the point is, he spent a lot of time on that, and it was valuable, because it saved us $125,000 in costs, which is huge, and I think it's a better project too, because we did it with water and wastewater. There's a lot of stormwater improvements that went with that. Some of those were unplanned. And it was certainly not something that the highway superintendent could have done, and I wouldn't have had time to do it or the expertise. I certainly couldn't do elevations. I can do project management, but I can't do elevations. So I just wanted to point that
I
out.
thought Jeffrey and Henry did all the engineering up there.
No, I had to do all
I
the,
saw all the paychecks to that.
yeah, they did water sewer. I had to do the complete road design, the profile, the alignment, profile, the cross sections, the sidewalk grades, all the accesses. It was a tremendous amount of work. And basically we had, I had about, probably 500 grade shots, at least a deep and water shot. And I had to look at every 25 feet, try to fit things in there as best you can to get the alignment and a vertical curvature in there from one side of the road to the next. So there was some aggravation to try to make it blend, and the right of way was tight. I mean, where the edge of the sidewalk is where the edge of the right of way is.
Super tight, and then moving the poles, I mean, it was just, it was a lot.
Well, the poles, yeah, I really wanted, there was no room on the poles, I wanted to get them on the back side. We could not do that, so it's, we widened the sidewalk, made the best that we could by where we put them. They're in the curve, at the edge of the curve, except for the one by Axon Street. The rest of the sidewalk's wider, so you can still plow through there, get plenty of access.
So then we'll have this 500,000, less of a push on the, or draw on this schedule, the 2026. So we'll have a little bit more flexibility in the schedule. So actually Depot Street, the bridge will, can pop right into that.
That'll be a
What's our
little
bridge?
late by then.
2024,
No, but our match.
320,000. Is that what I said before?
Well, the other thing too, is back to the Pleasant Valley Road. So if you see this, it's about $700,000 of that is to finish the kind of the mill, shim, overlay, and chip seal to preserve us for a long time.
I thought it was 5% because
Yeah.
we're gonna keep,
It is. That's a high number based,
That
that's
includes
if
the
we find,
hazardous
exactly,
materials.
exactly.
Which-
It's 140,000, which may not happen. We're hoping it won't happen.
so in the sense, you just saved that much on your pushing Lake Burt forward.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you, brought that forward? Seems like you're saving right there, so if you redid this sheet and put that 130 that you saved into your next budget. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Totally.
Wouldn't that,
No.
I mean, we're spending, we're talking about $50,000 from your, of where to cut, so if we just save some money, it seems like we should, it would help with your schedule here.
Totally. Well, we save money in the capital program, but I haven't had a chance to do it all yet. I just wanted to tell you that there's some good news. And I was just wanted to tell you the value of doing things with water, wastewater, because maybe, Everett, when you did this schedule, you looked at what water and wastewater are planning to do.
Well, I heard it was
But-
gonna happen, but I was never at that point.
But it would be good to schedule, obviously, the town projects with water sewer projects. Because
Absolutely.
water sewer, they call it -3% interest, which is essentially a 40% grant. I don't know how long that's gonna continue, but that's, free money. So I just want to point out there was some good news.
But, so our intention was to do exactly what we're talking about. I don't know, was to relook at this, and we talked different options. But back to 2023 budget year, or 2022 calendar year, which is the Pleasant Valley Road, a lot of work is gonna happen. One way to look at it, a lot of that was gonna be, like I said, like I just started saying earlier, mill, shim, overlay, chip seal to buy us time to rebuild it. That's a lot of money to start looking at reconstruction, so maybe we can move some of that money forward, put it to a little bit over $1 million in the start phase, get something done there, and maybe still a little bit of shim on what we haven't done. But to start
You
something.
say that buys us 10 or 15 years, mill shim overlay?
Well, it should buy you 10, 12. You know, if you did a mill shim overlay chip seal, it should at least get you 12 years on that road. But right now, we've only done mill and shim on part of it,
How much of it?
and half of it,
Percent, 50?
yeah, 50%. Might be 53, but you're right in that half area.
And that was about how much?
The paving,
One,
let's see, I don't know if I have that, it was over 100,000.
Yeah,
130 maybe?
140,
130, 140?
25,000 or something there.
Probably
That was
140,000.
with the addition we put into it. We figured $100,000, I think, and if we added the extra money to it.
Yeah, we got the $40,000 from the grant. So you're in the 140 range. Actually, this is a good time probably for Joe's, man.
Sure, yeah, you wanna do,
Okay.
this is,
Yeah. What Wendy's handing out there is, you had asked, someone had asked a question about, by us working the basis on milling, what, do we save any money, or, do we take a look at all the costs? So what, I just put this together this afternoon. So we hired basins we put in $20,000 in the budget to work with basins by the hour, on their machine. They just bought a new machine, and in the spring, a 7-foot milling machine. So they were $400 an hour, they gave us a real low rate. So I guess, let's do that. And they provide a flag and a sweeper. So their cost on that project was $16,830. So we still, in keeping track of our time, that's the next item, number 2 down there. Trucks, there's 3 10-wheelers. We had 74 hours into it. I used $80 an hour. That's probably high, probably close to 75, but I'd rather be a little conservative. And the sweeper, we used our sweeper. Basins had their sweeper as well, so basically when they're doing this operation, there's 2 sweepers going out there. So our sweeper was $18.80 on the 23.5 hours, the labor. We assisted them with water, whatever we can do to assist them, helped setting up signs so that it kept their costs down. 49 hours of labor, $45 an hour, that's $2,200. We had 10,000 into it, so if you add the 10,000 with our 16,830, it's 26,835. Or 84 cents a square yard. Yeah.
Have you put these similar numbers into your proposed projects for 21?
No.
Could you?
There's no milling in there for 21. So it's not going to help. Grizzle Drive doesn't need it, we can shim and chip seal that. So we don't, I could if it was a milling. Yes, I would try to work with it. So a recent contract, $1.15 a square yard, and that was either an inch and a half for 37,000 square yards. So it's the $1.15 is a fair number. We were at 84, so the savings of 9,965 had we contracted out by the square yard.
so we basically saved $10,000.
Right, so 10.
But you also paid all those guys, so if you were to add that up, what did you save?
No, that's
That's
in
in
there.
It's all in there.
The
The
town.
labor, that's the labor.
Sorry?
49 hours of labor.
No,
That's
it's
truck
in
and
the
equipment.
trucking.
Yeah.
The trucking is also the
Yeah.
labor.
So I didn't break the labor out and the truck rate. It's all the truck, the $80 an hour is with the truck and the guy driving it. Same thing with the sweeper. That's 80 with the guy driving it in the truck. And the sweeper. And the labor is 40. I used 45. So it's got all the labor in there.
Yeah, so-
And equipment.
So in that instance, with that project, we saved $10,000 by using our people to supplement. And that decision was made after the bid, right?
No, I made that.
Or was that
well,
before
when I
the
put
bid?
together-
You structured it that way?
When I put the budget together last year, I used $20,000 for us to, Mike and I had talked about it. I probably didn't get into details of it, but it was gonna be us working with basins
Okay,
to get this done as cheap as we can.
so you had to allocate their time.
Right.
Okay.
I figured $20,000 ought to do it, just on some numbers I had known, working with them, and fortunately, worked out to that fact. And it's new machine, I was a little bit worried about them with the brand new machine, how they're gonna be, but, they had Bob Basin right on that machine, just pushing it. And they're a pretty aggressive crew.
So the $20,000 is what you need, the 16,830 is the,
We had a little bit of savings there.
yeah, that's what, whenever it says 20,000, it means 20,000 paid out as opposed to our own costs, right?
Right, I didn't budget our own cost in there.
Yeah. Okay.
And another similar example, we'll talk about it next week, but, we completed all the drain line cleaning over here in 4.5 days, so that'll be a little bit under. The same contractor that was doing that, and I've worked with them before, and
Over here?
yeah,
I thought I heard them today.
they finished today, today was the
Today was
fifth
the
day.
half day.
Today. But
Three
same
and a half
contractor,
days or 4.5?
4.5, and we figured on 5. Same vendor in a different town. and I-
Would they leave the truck over there? Because it was there all week last week.
Yeah, it was there, I think they might have brought it home over the weekend.
Huh.
They did leave it in I think one garage, they left one up here, and tool shed, they left the garage, one of the trucks up there. Sewer line cleaning contract, the machine itself, I'm just talking Vector truck, is about $1,800 per day, or $185 an hour. Long day, you're talking about $2,000.
Was it all jammed up? Did they?
Oh, no, they've had to keep disassembling, but I'm talking a different contract now. What he had told me, excuse me, what he had told me.
You need water. Here.
Yeah.
Take
Well,
one.
Sure, yeah.
Here,
Oh, cool,
you can
yeah,
have,
right
here.
Well, thanks.
Thank you, we'll get you
Sure.
that.
Oh, don't worry about it. Brought my Canada Dry.
He had a contract, it was by the foot. And they were doing 5,000 feet a day, so they're making over $5,000. This is a different town, where he had recommended before, do it by the day. So some of these guys, they're busy enough. You don't always get hurt by the hour. Because a lot of these guys are busy, they need to finish their schedule and go somewhere else. For example, we've hired in the past year, clean catch basins. You can do it by the catch basin, you can do it by the hour. If you have a guy that goes around with them, popping the covers, working with them, you're right there with him. And he knows he needs to get in and out of that catch basin and go to the next one. So it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes by the hour, is a good thing.
But let's talk about what happened. So how many yards did they pull out?
I think it's probably 20 yards.
And it was big stuff. I mean, that truck was pretty impressive. I'm sure you guys know that truck, right? You guys at the end. I mean, the rocks are like this big. They're huge. So.
Did the truck pull it out or did men pull it out?
Well, both. They've had to enter that pipe a number of times. But the Vector truck itself, once in a while it would suck one up, it would get stuck toward the top.
Yeah, toward the little.
Shut it down just to somewhat get that out. So they were either busy helping unclog
So
it.
is it more powerful than the other company that couldn't?
No, they had a different nozzle. And they didn't have guys that can go in the pipe. The other company.
But did they go in the pipe or
Oh,
did
yeah.
they have a better truck?
No, they both.
Rather than cleaning the truck pipe?
Truck was probably about the
Go in
same.
and-
No, the truck was probably about the same, but they had two guys that were confined space trained.
Part of your factor is confined spaces.
Yeah, confined
Right.
space.
Yeah.
So they went in the pipe when they needed to, and then at other times they had to unjam the bend on top, get things working there.
They did go in the pipe.
Oh, yeah, number
So-
of times.
That's why we needed them.
Are we gonna take or consider any measures? So
Oh, yeah.
that like rocks like this don't get down further?
Yeah.
Maybe next week,
Okay.
we'll be talking about that, we got the grant application.
Well, and
There you
these
go.
might have gone in before that grate was put in too, right?
I don't know what all
It's
that-
hard to,
Yeah, well, I understand that.
I've got some ideas that could prevent this from happening,
Yeah,
after we get some different measures up at the head wall and replace the pipe.
remember a few times in the early days when I went up there, there used to be like a, I don't know, maybe it was a 3-inch square grate that was there, that no longer was there, all of a sudden like disappeared.
He found it,
Found it.
yeah, he
Okay.
sucked it in the line. Mike Hines made that one.
oh my God.
Really?
So he wanted to keep that one.
Yeah,
It was, about that big,
yep,
yeah.
okay.
So that's Mike's retirement present.
But he's not
Use
gonna
that to
get
cook
it
on.
for 5 more years.
Yeah.
I think when, maybe it was a Shane on it, or maybe it was Chip on it up there, the last one that happened, well, Chip was already up there when I got up there, and that was noticeably missing to me, and I said, hey, we have something missing here.
It's been down the hole.
Yeah, so no, it's, we'll be talking about it next week. I just wanna, share the cost there on the milling, plus let you know that things came in pretty well. And I got a text from him, so it's the 48-inch drain line, the concrete is 99% clean. So they got it clean. The one that heads over to, I am kind of trying to do what they can here, like an hour. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, because we didn't discuss it that much. The 24-inch over to the senior center, that needs cleaning, and that can wait till next year. So, and actually, I'll probably just build it into the grant project. So when he replace the metal pipe, we'll have a cleaning line item ready to clean that out as part of the grant.
So is it conceivable that water brings a lot of those down?
But I think what happens sometimes, but I haven't seen them cleaning it, but when you got a lot of water comes down in it, some of the sides of the banks slough down.
The banks.
And the water pushes it and plugs it up, which is a
Right.
good thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't all go down through and plug all the pipe.
Yeah,
But I think if we had sort of a head wall type thing built there,
yeah,
and maybe a couple small pipes that would eventually leak water through,
right,
but something you could then clean out you know, right now, if we clean it out, it's pushing that stuff against the grate and down
It's
through the
there,
line.
yeah.
And the line, the other thing, the first section line, when it goes down through, goes down the first drain mill, which is 20 feet from the head wall, drops down another 5 feet or so. So then you're like a 13 feet deep, and it goes down by the house.
Mhm.
So there's no reason, that's the 70s method of putting in drain lines. They used to actually, Cherry Hill's a good example, you got one catch basin on top. You have this monstrosity of a drain line that goes uphill, steps, goes up to, there's 3 drain mills for one catch basin on top of that hill, which is a lot. You would not do that these days.
And plus the permitting might be interesting too,
Yeah.
you were saying.
So what I would do is that one is not put it as deep, put it straight down through. Have like a 5-foot sump right there. For one thing, whoever gets contract does not want to dig that deep down along that property to replace that 13-foot drain line. Still gotta get rid of it, and you still gotta pack it, but you don't need someone down in there.
Yeah.
So you can put a new pipe in there with a 5-foot sump. So you'd have like a head wall catchment area in front of the grate, you know, like a bulkhead.
Right.
And then you'd have also a 5-foot sump right there, so you got 2 places you can catch it. And something solid you can dig out of.
So
You know.
if we get another heavy rain situation, like happened that winter, would that alleviate any potential flooding that might occur, like would occur?
If it floods up solid, I guess it would help, because I think if we have that, like a 3-foot head wall, say, in front of it,
Mhm.
like a bulkhead, so a lot of grit and stuff should stop there, and it should overflow there and get in, so it would, I mean, Mother Nature is tough to predict. I would say it'll help it, I can't say it's 100% gonna stop it. I think there's some other measures down the road, which I went up last year to,
Yeah.
or Army Corps of Engineers had a session up in Montpelier. I think it was in Montpelier, I stopped up there and put this in, the recommendations for some improvement in this area, we didn't get anything. I think the stream itself, we can do some extra measures up through there.
But are we gonna have some grate in there in place in the very near future to prevent anything else from getting down through that other grate?
At this point, probably not, it's been that way for years, and
Really?
I don't wanna, maybe unless we put a steel plate against here, maybe something temporary, we might go do something like that, it's not gonna float, or jam anything up,
Yeah.
we can consider that.
I mean, I think we ought to take a look at that, and I think that's important up there. I mean, you know, to the north end, I'm a little bit, I won't say intimately familiar with it, but I mean,
Well, we
Yeah.
talked about repairing it up by the end of,
High Street.
Bramley Way, right? Where Keith Road, Bramley, what is it?
That was high, I know.
Hill,
No, there's a long
No,
road
there's
there
another road
that Andy lives on.
Crowley Road, Crowley Road.
Crowley. So at the end of that, that's where the bank's
Yeah, it's,
horrendous and getting worse and worse and worse. It's all that
Yeah.
silt and rock. It's a 60-foot.
Let's wait.
I mean, you've
I'm not
talked
sure if that's
about-
coming way over here, though.
You talked
So
about
it
it.
is. I haven't walked between the two, so I don't know.
because you talked about riprap in that one point, but I guess that's what the state wanted us to do with it.
Well, you gotta be careful of that, because that can all wash down on you too and plug things up.
Yeah.
So you gotta be careful, no matter what you do, it's gonna be one of those issues where better off just waiting. But we'll take a look. I think if we did anything, maybe a plate of steel, that maybe if it's 2 feet high, really thick steel across it.
Yeah,
As a temporary measure, let some debris hit it without getting into the pipe.
yeah,
But I'm not even loving it to it. I don't wanna mess up. I mean, the
Right.
grate that's there is a nice job that Rick Crawford did.
yeah.
So it's straight. It's been like that for what, 40 years, so
Mhm.
there's not a lot you gotta do between now and the time we maybe try to do something next year with what we're gonna talk about next week.
Okay.
We'll talk about it a little bit more.
But cleaning out the pipe is gonna.
Oh, yeah, that's
We
huge.
already did help. So I think that's not getting across.
Well, what I'm just trying to get across is prevent us from having to spend this type of money cleaning it out again.
Oh, totally.
oh, the
Yeah.
pipe, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
We wanna be able to clean it in front of the grate
Yeah.
and in that first drain main, I'm talking about having a 5-foot sump.
right, but I mean, I don't want to be able to have rocks like that going through there, getting in there.
Right.
Yeah. And we don't either, and that's,
No.
and so that's the plan. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's
It
been
is.
many years since this has been cleaned, right? How many?
Well, we've wrestled with it the last couple of years, we've never videotaped it, so.
Right, but I mean, that's flooded in the last, 10 years, twice,
Yeah.
really good,
Yeah.
you know? You can go back to when Tom Green, I think Tom Green was here in one, then Shane was here for one, and then Chip was here for one. with the most recent one, I believe.
If you
So
do
hopefully we
that,
don't each get a turn.
no, but if you know any of these dates exactly, if you have something at home on that, it would help, because when I put the final application together,
Yeah.
as much as I can put in there. And if you got any news clippings, that would be awesome.
Let me check, I know.
We
I'll
have
have to check my,
We have the day of the last one.
Yeah, was that like the 25th of February?
yeah, it's
We
February.
should have it at the firehouse.
I looked up online, I knew it was February 2016. I wasn't here, but I know the whole state had some major issues. But I'll double check with Sean.
I mean, that was all the way up to Russell's,
Friday.
it must have been about almost
Not
3
right.
feet of water.
Heard about it from Pam.
I looked out, I could see this nice glare about, I don't know, 12 something at night, and I thought, maybe it was a little after 1. I thought, nah, you know, it was sleet and rain, I thought. I looked out again, I said, damn, that's a skating rink, it's a lake.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I'm interrupting this
Go
discussion.
ahead, I was just jump in here, but.
You can, the RCMS, I forget the abbreviations.
Yeah, and if somebody, we can pass it around. If, do you guys need another
I
copy of this?
have one at home, I didn't dig
Well,
it
I
up.
got it all.
But, I mean, I think now, yeah, if
I got
we,
mine home.
taking into account the Burke Lake thing, if we can relook at this schedule and then put in the,
Depot
the
Street
Depot
Bridge,
Street
yeah.
Bridge.
Yeah.
And then we might be able to hold back on that. I mean, I hate to push it off too much, that plan of the adding 50 each year, but we may have to.
They have to.
And then, because we did get a lot done this year that we weren't expecting to get done this year.
Right.
So, and then looking at how would that impact that plan? I mean, if there's roads that really aren't going to make it, I don't want to mess with it. But if there's roads that we think, you know, we can hold off,
Right.
it might be worth just relooking at that and seeing how, if we can cut that additional 50 this year, it would be helpful.
And see what the
Without
utility.
totally, yeah, without totally messing up roads that have to be addressed.
There's so many different ways you can look at it. I could try to get caught back up, so if you cut 50 and then go add 75 next year, 75 the year after, try to get back on pace, but I can look at.
Yeah, but
couple
if
options.
you just saved 130, it doesn't seem like it should be that difficult to rearrange your schedule and stay on your plan.
Right, it's just this budget isn't even staying on plan.
Right,
The-
we're already off.
Our
Yeah.
budget each year has it increasing, but yes, it's. we'll-
Budget
we'll
each year
use
has
that.
an increase of 50, right?
Yeah,
But you also,
Well,
I mean, that
Like 2
is,
years ago?
that's also based on roads from that have a plan, that,
Yeah.
of when their life really is over. So-
That plan right in front of you, right?
No, this one, the
Okay.
RMS.
Yeah,
So
well,
all I'm saying, it doesn't,
You have to put the two together, I think.
well, do you want me to throw an option out there, look at a first phase of Pleasant Valley Road reconstruction? Because that is gonna be some major dollars, but I can,
I think part of the, so we saved $130,000, but we saved it in FY
right,
2020.
2026.
Yeah, we didn't say that this year.
no,
I
you
mean,
didn't.
so then you just, seems like you could move some things around to make a different schedule. So in
No,
fact,
right.
you did save
Yeah.
money.
that's what we wanna do,
Great.
yes.
But this schedule down below is, I mean, the schedule above, and maybe I'm not reading this right, is your regular paving that's in that plan.
Yes,
correct?
yeah, yeah, this little section
So
up here.
the one down below is the,
Right, so that's
Um,
what's difficult, is the savings
yeah.
from down below, and for the next few years, we're projecting paving from schedule from here.
right,
Okay, but I guess I just didn't get the direction I'm looking for then. Do you want to look at two options on Valley Road, either mill shim overlay chip seal, or one of that is being the first year of reconstruction? I guess that's,
I would,
Zach? go ahead.
does it, go ahead.
if it costs you 100 and something thousand to do 50% of it, that'll buy you 10 to 12 years, right? That's what you just said.
Oh, no, we were looking at $700,000 on the Pleasant Valley Road, a little bit more.
No, not for the mill, Tim.
Overlay chip seal, yeah, we're looking at probably $700,000-800,000. To
What
buy
did you just
10
do up there?
Oh, we did is
Okay,
mill
so
and shim.
shim and chip seal, right?
No, all we did was a mill and shim, that's all we did. Mill and overlay, however you want to call it, it's mill and 1 inch.
And that'll get you 10 to 12 years?
No, that won't.
Oh.
if we did a mill, shim, overlay, chip seal, but that's $800,000 worth of work. That'll get you 10, 12 years. So we haven't done anything.
You did a mill and a 1 inch.
Right.
Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that'll get how long without sealing it?
Year,
Well,
couple years, maybe 3.
would you chip seal over that?
You're gonna see those cracks, you'll see cracks come through in the spring on what we did, because you only got 1 inch there. They will be there. You're not gonna stop it.
But it's still a much better
Oh,
road than it
don't get me wrong,
was.
yeah, it was needed.
It was
Yeah, but what are you gonna, it doesn't, I would look at, if we're looking at the longevity of things, that doesn't seem very cost effective.
Right, but it's more than a year of value.
Maybe 2, 3.
But
It'd be
it
nice,
was bad.
ideally, it'd be nice when we get to this 2023 FY 2023 budget, that we don't need to do any more, we don't need to go backwards on that section to mill. If we can then mill the rest of it, shim it, overlay the whole thing and chip seal it, walk away, then we've saved every bit we just put into it. I don't have a crystal ball, to know how it's gonna look in 3 years.
But you wouldn't chip seal over the 1-inch overlay?
No,
No,
not.
because you'd have to come back and shim that again, or mill it if you.
I mean, I guess, yeah, you could chip seal it, so you won't get as many years out of it. But you could chip seal next year, what we did.
Yeah,
So I think there's two things. There's the bit below, because we've saved that money, this schedule, to relook at that. And then, yeah, I think maybe Pleasant Valley splitting that up. And then the RCM.
RSMS.
Yes, RSMS. Looking at how thrown off we are going to be if we cut that 50. How does that really throw off that schedule that we have there?
Okay. yeah.
2021 schedule?
No, I mean, for the next 5, 10 years, that's a 10-year plan. So if you mess with this year, you're messing with next year and a year and a year and a year.
No, for 2
So-
years you're messing with it, because if you saved 130 in
No, we didn't
2023.
save the 130 from the top.
in-
We saved the 130 from the bottom, the
From
capital
your-
improvement.
Right.
The top bit, where we're adding the 40, 52,
It's
is
plan.
in there, the plan, that plan.
But if, okay.
Which
But
is
if you
also
not-
this.
If you do not have to spend 130 of your top plan, aren't you in fact saving money?
Yes, but
Yeah.
But the 130 was in the bottom plan.
Yeah,
But this is the top plan,
You're
right?
funding
This
it
is the
from your
part
top
of the
plan
right.
to pay your bottom line.
yes, we could do that, but so, all we're saying is we won't have, if we don't put the 50 in this year, and the savings is coming from 2026 essentially. If we don't put the 50,000 in this year to continue with this plan, it's going to delay something. And so we want to look at the impact of delaying it. Yes, we can move stuff around because we saved $130,000 in 2026, but what is the impact of the delay?
And this is a separate total, subtotal to the capital. That's good.
But we'll look at it.
If it was a project that had been scheduled for 2021, this would be a non-issue. If we just saved 130,000 in 2021, it would be ideal.
Yeah, and we also have to look at the debt schedule and how this is going to, we want to get to that steady place.
Right, and I think this interest rate is kind of high too, the 5%. So that can make a big difference if we just change that assumption in the payment. Yeah,
Yeah, and they probably were conservative, well, no, they were conservative, but they're down there, they're out there quite a ways. You know, I think interest rates will be up there eventually.
so we might put some money aside, borrow from ourselves, borrow less. I mean,
Maybe
it's
in a
just a
perfect
very big, complicated picture that we need to.
Well, yeah, and we're making
put
assumptions,
together.
because maybe, in a perfect world, there's more transportation grants available because the country is falling apart and we gotta put more money. So we're doing the best we
Right.
can to predict 15 years down the line.
And we're $21 trillion in hole, so you're probably not gonna see that money down the road.
No.
22 trillion, right?
But anyway, if that's, I hate to I don't want to put us too far off that
No, I know,
paving
but-
schedule, but at the same time,
Like I say, it was 7.5 cents, we gotta
Yeah.
figure something, do something there.
But there's also projects like Hartley Hill, 0.06 miles. Why does that even need to be paved there?
So that's with town crew, so that's,
I understand that.
oh, that section. Well, it can be looked at, maybe.
I mean, it's just, I know it's $40,000.
Yeah, I know, but, you know, Mike and I can, right now, we didn't get into, when I did the RSMS, I didn't get into all those details.
Right.
Unless I knew it was a long section of road, Upper Meadows Road might be one. That one, maybe we don't
Yeah.
need, just chop that, call it paved gravel down the road, reclaim it.
Yeah.
Hartley Hill Road, yeah, you need a good apron there, maybe you don't need as long as that. But you wanna make sure all your gravel and grit is well away from that corner.
Put a crown in the road.
Yeah.
Compact it.
So, but, yeah, so you're not talking major dollars here, but that's a couple years, but it could be looked at, maybe it doesn't need it. Maybe,
Yeah.
well, you've been out there, maybe you know why it was like that to start with. How many years you've been there?
I don't go properly, so I have to. So, you know, I know the lower half that we've done is better than the other side.
Yeah.
It's held up a lot better.
And, the school
No
bus
offense
depot,
intended.
that might be why we don't need to repave that down the road. You know, or
Because
maybe,
it's private. Piece on top.
Which one?
Hartley Hill.
This in, we're in Westminster.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. It's
Yeah.
not a town road all the way over?
No, it's private.
All right,
So you learned something.
so I think that's one potential area.
Oh,
A
definitely.
little bit of something.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, anybody else, anything else on this highway?
Not related to this, I'm not calling it is related, but Shannon, I know it won't, you probably haven't had a chance, but I guess these solar things where we're getting credits and it's supposed to reduce, do we know if it is reducing our costs?
We do, and we have data on it. So I don't think it was what you all probably thought going into it. So over 20 years, you'll save $100,000, and reviewing the electric bills, that's what it, we're on track to do that. But it's not at all, I think, what was probably articulated to you.
Well, it's the savings at least, but we do get the rental, which is, I mean, not the rental, we get the
The tax
revenue, the tax
revenue.
But
revenue,
is it,
which is helpful. And then, but right now, streetlights and things are that part, is that part of it, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And I remember when we had this discussion with the person, I forget the company, but there wasn't a lot more that we could roll into that if another project came online, is that right, the town of Rockingham, or not?
To do more with them.
Yeah.
I would not recommend it. I think
We don't
there are
want to,
better options for.
Well, not
us.
necessarily with them, but another type of program like this where in theory.
I would not recommend it. I would recommend maybe doing our own solar.
Right.
but in that
But
contract,
we don't have contracts, we're not, so you might have asked the same question, but I thought we were contracted out for most of our town electricity needs to this company for the next 20 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it does not reduce all of our electric bills to zero. We do have some electric bills that are at zero because of this. But if we were gonna do anything solar, and Wendy, I would recommend buying our own solar.
Yeah, we've talked about this.
but we can't with this contract? Or we could?
I believe,
We're,
we, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we gave up certain, I won't call them amenities, probably we gave up certain rights.
Wendy and I did not sign those
I
contracts, and we would be
No.
willing to,
That's-
put up a fight.
yeah,
because-
that's a lot to give away.
Yeah,
For, 20 years that of our
Yeah.
electric
and
needs
it's
that
not
we are
a lot
contracted
of
to go do
savings
that, so.
at all.
Yeah,
And it's actually administratively, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
and even if we couldn't use the credits ourselves, we could sell them, we could donate them. I mean, it would be valuable to have that ability. I mean, we have 2 kids, I mean, the permitting would be really easy.
I mean, we would love to be able to help nonprofits to and help pay their electric school, even if we have more.
Well, okay, let's back up and not be rude, but how's that help us? How's that help a taxpayer in Rockingham?
Well, if we do schools, it reduces school taxes.
School taxes.
But we can also sell credits too.
Yeah.
So,
So we're gonna work into the deal with the schools, because that's the
we're
majority.
not even there yet.
No, but I'm
We're
saying,
growing
if we
stuff.
go there,
We
majority
have
of the
no
schools,
idea.
people always say to me, how come you guys never have enough money? And I say, well, take a look at the school portion, or the education portion of your tax bill. What I don't wanna see is, I'm all for helping everybody out, but I don't know about subsidizing. I don't wanna help the schools out, if the schools are gonna take the money and use it somewhere
It's
else.
your decision
Yeah, that was
as the select
just
board.
a-
We're just
I know that, I'm just saying.
We're just saying if we had excess power, there are things that we can do with it.
Right.
One of which is to sell it.
Right.
We haven't gotten far enough to analyze it, we haven't even really started, except, and the first step would be to see if we have actually constrained ourselves, and if we have, then we're
Right.
just gonna do a
Well, maybe we
little
could,
bit.
a separate discussion we could get in detail in someday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the
Yeah.
preliminary thing was diving into, from my perspective, just financially, to make sure that we were at least getting, breaking even, or making what we thought we were going to in savings. So that's why we started an initial analysis, because preliminarily, it didn't even look like we were gonna see
No.
savings.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure. Part of it is that it's seasonal, so we see more savings in the summer than in the winter, and when I got here, it was winter, so that was what the knee-jerk reaction was, well, we're not even.
Yeah, well, and also because it does affect the budget, because if we are saving more, then our electricity bills across the
Yeah, and
budget
like,
would go
you
down,
guys
but
don't
we're
see
not.
the sewer, the way the bills up there are, the building for sewers, electric's basically zero.
Because they have a much higher energy.
It's from a village standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we see large cost reductions in the town buildings. It's seasonal, 1 and 2, then we get bills from the solar company. All right.
Anybody else got anything?
So did you want to talk about sidewalks? or-
Yeah,
I
one
guess-
more time, could we just,
Because we had that
we're
comparison.
putting 50 in there, but we're not sure what we're doing. You said up by 7-Eleven and Canal Creek, looking out house. Right now,
we
we
just
ready.
do offhand.
So might we be able, but do you have all that spent, or is that another option for savings for this year?
Well, there's plenty of sidewalk need that's in the replaced version, a substantial amount of sidewalks.
Well, we did a lot, and then we reduced it again. Now we're going right back up, so maybe we could make a plan where we could just try to attack your chart at a less expense. That's a big chunk of money right there.
Yeah. Now, that's why last year, where we got less expenses, having the crew do it, which, you know, and we were able to do more foot. You know, we were able to do that for $1,500 per 100 feet. And if we're talking here, probably, we might get 400 feet, it might be $100. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't.
No, we're quite a bit more. You're gonna be 4 or 5
I'm
times
interested
that.
in maintenance, keeping us a maintenance division. Not doing construction.
Yeah, no, I get it. There's guys out there.
All your head walls and everything are gonna be subbed out.
Yep. Yeah.
Do we
Those
get
guys that
enough?
do it for regular living, they do nice jobs, that's all they do. But unfortunately, there's still not a lot of guys here. I'll probably never be able to get that tri-state curb up here for 500 feet of sidewalk. You know, Mike Pilo, when I talked to him, he might be able to help us out, but it's not cheap either. He's nowhere near the tri-state curb price. So that's why we're looking at, you know, to spend $50,000, it might give you, if you want, you'll get probably 800 feet, okay, if it was without a curb. With a curb, you might get 400 feet. Give you a ballpark.
There's no curb on 7-Eleven, right?
No, there's no curb on that, so. But I know there's a lot more need than just 7-Eleven.
I know.
And more need than the canal house. But yes, I mean, we can chop it if we want to just do those two. But I could take.
I'm just looking at ways to reduce this budget right now.
Yeah,
Right.
And options to do so,
Yeah.
and still maintain what we have, It's important we do that. But bring this tax rate down.
Because those two items basically are your increase in the highway department.
Your pavement and sidewalks, yeah.
Yeah, so I agree with Sue.
Those are important things too, so we
Well,
can maybe
yeah.
just get some figured out how we can make it work.
And the other way you look at it is it could do a combination, which I don't know if you want to do that either, but you could say, we'll excavate, we'll put gravel in, we'll have it so ready someone comes in and does the sidewalk. Mike Pelo, for example, does not do the preparation, he does concrete, flat work. That's it. SUR, they form it, they pour it, but they don't come, not SUR, but tri-state concrete. They don't do the excavation and preparation. So there might be a,
I think that's a good idea, to do the prep work and have a guy come in, flat lay, he'd come in on a Saturday for 500 feet.
right? And if we do get 500 feet ready, they might, now that's half a day for them. Oh, no, that's enough. It could be a couple days for tri-state. So they do about 250, maybe 300 a day. It's a curbing that's what, when you put out curbing, they do about 900,000 feet a day. So that might be a combination, so maybe chop some of that, still get quite a bit done. We'll do the prep work. The guys are pretty good at that. And that's the meticulous stuff, which takes a little time, but especially on William Street, it was just tight. That's one of the tightest streets, you're right there on the edge.
Because the amount of traffic there with 7-Eleven, would it be better off if we did do curb up there?
Curbs down below the asphalt nowadays.
Well, I know
Well, I was gonna say, from a safety standpoint, you'd want a curb. That's
it.
my.
That's what I was just wondering, would it be better off if we did, I'm not proposing we do it, I'm just saying, would we be any better off if we did put in the curbing there and the sidewalk, or just the sidewalk and.
Yeah, right now, I think I just put sidewalk and raise it up, so it's higher and
It's
slope
gotta
it
be,
away.
yeah.
There's one section, we could put some curbing in there where there's an access. There was so there's no curbing in one section, that's the old
Right.
access to the house that was there that was torn down.
Right.
Maybe just put it back in there, leave it. Anytime you do any kind of curbing, you gotta look at both sides of the road. So you don't always wanna go up 6 inches curbing, and look at the other side where the sidewalk is. You gotta kind of keep them together. So there are times I've actually done it on purpose, a 3-inch curb, because the other side is 3 inches. And you really gotta look at the overall, what's going on.
Well, the other side is quite high.
It's quite high, so, but
And the
drain wise,
water, I don't even know, on the new asphalt, is it still making it to that drain?
Yeah.
Because the curb, where the curb is missing, it shoots off into the sidewalk and the green space and puddles there.
Yeah.
right,
So a curb would,
curb would help it, at least in that missing section. And we'll take a look at the whole thing, if we can put curb in. Curb itself, $16.50 is a linear foot. Put it in, it's $45 if you hire someone to put it in that ballpark.
it's granite that's there now, right?
Right.
And you can't reuse it?
Well, you know what, that might be concrete.
I think
Not sure.
I thought it was
Gotta be.
concrete.
That might be concrete.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's concrete, walking down.
If it's granite, you can reuse it.
Yeah,
Concrete, you wouldn't be able to.
concrete, I think, that's why I think it's sunk, it's a concrete, I'm pretty sure it's concrete.
I think it is too. But we'll look at that, we don't need a necessary budget. Well, we can buy the curbing out of that sidewalk. If we put 30,000 in there, so we can cut it to, we can look at working it together and doing what we can. If we do the prep work and hire us out.
So we do want to give you a menu of options, things you can cut, things you can
Well,
add.
yeah, we're gonna need
So
that,
that-
get that, we'll just make them up ourselves.
Yeah,
Have
no,
to
we'll
live
do
with
that.
it. I mean-
And one of the advantages of making the final decisions in January is that the listers are gonna have a, estimate of the valuation, if increases or decreases, hopefully increases. So we'll have that information too, which would help.
When?
They're gonna do it at the beginning of January. So you guys don't need to finalize it until, the middle of January. the budget, so we have time. So we can we can get you more information on the stormwater utility, on the VIFTA assessment, on other sources of revenue that are out there too.
So how much do you think we're gonna really actually visualize from that stormwater? What do you think that's gonna get us? I mean,
Well, what we would start with is a feasibility study, and there is grant money at the state to do a feasibility study. I need to find out how much that is. But what we do is segregate our stormwater costs. Those costs are only gonna go up, and the state regulation is much, it's already a lot more than it was, and it's just gonna keep getting more intense. So we would take out stormwater costs from the rest of the highway costs, include administrative costs, and then allocate those to the property owners, but it wouldn't just be taxable property, it would also be non-taxable property. And the biggie is the state. The state would pay for the impervious surface of the highway, of the interstate.
what's the percentage they're gonna do it? Are they gonna do it on those, yeah, we'll pay you, but we'll get you like 2%?
Well, no, they get
Then
it,
it's not
they
worth
already
it.
gave themselves a discount in the law, which it's actually really good that they even acknowledge that they have to pay, because they do some treatment. But they gave themselves a 35% discount. Colchester gets $60,000 a year from the state, from the interstate. I don't know how much interstate is there versus here, but
So they would take the stormwater costs directly out of the highway budget from,
Yeah.
you know, part of the manager, part of finance.
it'd be like a utility.
Yeah, like a utility, so stormwater would become a separate budget, and then we would be able to, so it would reduce the highway budget significantly. And then people would pay based on a different system, not taxes, but based on.
An assessment, but more people would, there'd be a bigger group of payers.
To pay that
Like the
bucket.
state, for example, is a big one, and then nonprofits, like schools, churches, would pay also. And with an assessment, there has to be a tie between the benefit that you get and the amount that you pay. So the benefit to commercial folks is that they could reduce what they pay by implementing stormwater management systems. And so they basically have a choice, and they can decide, reduce what, put in a retention pond, put in additional drainage.
Reduce
Which
the
would-
amount of concrete.
Yeah, which would reduce the amount of stormwater that we have to deal with. So there'd be a benefit to the stormwater utility too from having them put in those improvements. So, I mean, the state's really encouraging towns to do it. There are 5 towns that have it so far. They're all in the northeast,
But if the state, well, I'd like to know a lot of the pros and cons. I think,
totally.
you're seeing, I think people are here saying income. Well, if the school's gonna require more money because they gotta pay this new fee, I'm gonna see my tax bill.
They're
go up.
paying,
Well, someone has to
they're already
pay.
paying the taxes for the stormwater to be taken care of. It's in the highway budget. So it's taking the same amount of money that we pay to do all of this work right now out of highway and putting it in its own fund and saying a different group of people are gonna pay, an additional group of people are gonna pay. So yes, the school would be one of them. However, the state would be the majority payer. And then yes, the residents would be paying, but they would be getting their money's worth. Instead of just paying a tax rate for it, they'd be paying based on the land that they have that needs the work. And so it's a better system, it's a fair system. No one's paying any more. The taxpayers are already paying for all of the stormwater work. It's in the highway budget.
Mhm. Yeah,
Right, and the state would be the majority payer,
No,
but they would pay a lot.
Well, what I'd like to know before we get into this and start, I'm already hearing from taxpayers that they're strapped, all right?
Sure.
And I realize that you're seeking out other revenue, but I'd like to have a somewhat solid preliminary estimate of what, like this 2% that Peter's talking about that the state's gonna pay on the pavement or whatever, to figure. I mean, I'm hearing $60,000 in Colchester. Well, Colchester, I think, if you look out on the map, it's a lot bigger town than Rockingham. And they probably got a lot more interstate running through it, so that, I'm sure they're
I'm
gonna,
just curious what your opposition would be, because we're just taking the money out of the highway budget, so that reduces your tax base, right?
right,
And then we're taking the same amount of money that's being done for the stormwater treatment, and we're spreading it over more people. So no matter what, even if we don't want to look at it as income, no matter what, per resident,
mhm,
it is reducing their taxes. They're not paying as much for the stormwater because more people are paying for the treatment. The state, the schools, right now they're not. So
Right.
they would be paying a portion of this that's coming out of the highway budget.
well, I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, and I resent that term, what I'm saying is, we need to have more information, because, you know what, if the school needs to spend more money, I'm gonna see that on the school education side of my tax bill. And so isn't everybody else in Rockingham that's a taxpayer. And you can cloak it in whatever you wanna call it, a fee or a utility fee or another, you know, we're increasing the size of government, it costs money. And I'd like to know the implications, not only on myself as a taxpayer, but on the people that we have in this community that are telling me that they're already paying enough in taxes, whether it's a water bill or a sewer bill or a property tax or an education tax.
Yeah, we'll definitely get you more information. There, in the very back of the packet is a copy of the, material that VLCT sent out. I mean, you can, feel free to share it with folks. And the first step would be a feasibility study to make sure that it makes sense for us.
Provided we can get a grant to study.
I hope
Is
so.
that-
This is another thing, I was hoping I'd have all the information tonight,
Right.
but I don't. But we'll get more
You
information.
know, we all had,
Feasibility
not to knock the fire department, but I've heard a lot about taxes recently. And, we're gonna get a grant for fire trucks, and guess what, we didn't get a grant for fire
I
trucks.
know,
So right now, it's part of our factor in this tax bill, it's
Yeah.
adding up to the, what, 7.5 cents,
I know.
all right? So, we all sound rosy when we say grant, 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 but you know what? I've said it before, grants aren't guaranteed.
Totally.
It sounds great for a news bite in the newspaper when we say we're gonna get a grant, but that's not reality.
I agree, we have to plan for not getting grants,
Right.
actually.
But I don't like personally,
We have to plan to not, for the future and not keep borrowing money and paying tons of interest.
Right.
I like to
I mean,
plan-
17% of our taxes are debt.
Yeah.
That is a huge, that's because we're trying to figure out why our rates are so high.
we spend a lot of money around here. I can start
But if
naming
you
some of
let-
these.
But we're spending a lot to the bank. We're
Right.
paying the bank's interest. That's sad.
Yeah,
If we save it up, we can get interest while we're saving
You
it
can
and then
earn the
pay
interest
less.
from the bank and not pay
Yeah.
interest.
Yeah, so that's, but we're gonna have to concentrate and focus to get over that hump. It's not an easy transition to make. It's like it's like a person getting out of debt. You gotta just focus and have a good plan.
People
Stick to
getting
the
out of
plan.
debt also don't continue to increase their
let's spend it.
spending.
Right, but now a family is different than a municipality because we gotta keep the economy going too.
In an affordable manner, we could
Totally.
do that. We
I
can
agree.
do that.
I agree. It's a balance. Because a lot of the services that we provide help the residents, both individually and just as a group. I mean, the roadways are important, the bridges are important, like the parking lot. One of the problems we have, we say we have problems with parking. We just have problems with parking lots being obvious and accessible. The Bridge Street parking lot could be a great resource, but
Well,
it's
they
not
also
fixed
don't
up.
enforce parking, so,
Well, we do.
but they don't.
No,
Especially since I left
somebody
town.
enforced it on Saturday because a friend of mine got a ticket.
I get a ton of tickets.
I've watched the same people park in the same spots that I used to.
Some of those people just move their cars every
They
time.
don't even.
Yeah.
And they're gaming
Yeah.
the system.
That I've
It's-
seen too.
They
Yeah.
just don't care.
Okay.
All right,
I
let's
think
get,
we have some plans.
do you have something else?
No, I'm just thinking, yeah.
Okay, other business. Ben?
No,
Donna?
What, is it a elevator update?
Yeah, pretty sad.
Yeah,
We're looking at other vendors, actually.
And what about library?
Same difference.
Library is not ADA compliant. You have to
Without
walk
the-
upstairs or you have to walk downstairs
Right.
into that building.
Right.
Because I think you said it was last time.
No, I was saying this building is, someone said
Library
this
right
building
now
is
is
not
not.
compliant. I didn't say the library was.
Okay,
But the library's having the same problem we are with
I
the
spoke with
elevators.
Selena and she said that they were having the same problem with Bay State and they keep being told that they have the part that they need and they won't schedule the technician to come out. And so I think what I've been told from Bay State is they're short on technicians. So, but, I mean,
Really?
they've had our part
so you're
for,
calling a different company?
We are,
Somebody
but the problem is for this one,
For this
they have the
one.
part.
yeah.
But,
We signed
but,
it.
Well, we
But-
paid, have we paid for the part?
but for the future,
We
Make
signed
other
the
calls.
contract.
yeah.
Other companies will do it. Somebody's gonna do it.
I
We gotta
have
stop
five other companies that
sticking-
Wendy was talking about.
Excellent.
Did they already put a part in it that didn't fix it?
It didn't completely fix it, then
So
it needed
They
another
wouldn't
part.
have known that this part was broken until they fixed the initial part that was broken, because,
I'd look at this one else.
yeah,
We are,
no, yeah,
And then,
it's frustrating. They're-
so
Yeah.
that's the answer, they're not fixed and we're now looking at other companies? So someone asked me.
I'm still calling Bay State and checking in and checking in and checking in for them
Okay.
to come out and fix it.
Yeah, I think they've got somebody right there in Charlestown. I drive by the house
Every
occasionally,
time
the Vantage
they
Park
use-
there.
We keep seeing people, like Wendy and Shannon saw somebody like literally
I
two places
I
down
called
when
and
we were waiting.
reported trucks that were parked outside
Downtown.
of bars
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
And they
people
said, well, they're already
drinking while we
scheduled
could
for
not get a
something
technician
else,
here,
so.
and we had the elevator down. And believe me, it is not happy conversations with them.
Good, well, keep it up,
We do.
whoever's making the phone
And
call.
she will not return my phone calls.
And then the heat at Waypoint
Well, maybe we ought to
It's
find out who
fixed.
the owner of Bay State is and go
It's
direct.
is fixed?
yes.
Well, I've been calling,
Oh, you
I've been
have,
calling the district managers.
yeah.
I mean, the owner, whoever, whether it's privately owned or
We have
publicly
gone
owned.
all
Stefan,
the
they're
way
work,
to
they're
the
gonna work
top.
on it.
Yeah.
I just was wanting an update and they said they're,
Well, I mean, it's, I don't know, it's ridiculous going on this long.
I agree.
The amount of money that we
but they're
pay.
gonna work on it, they said.
This is the Lula.
Different options.
Yeah.
So you'll probably see an RFP for elevator.
Yeah.
So,
All set.
Stefan?
well, we have a couple items. I've noticed a couple of vehicles at times that are not electric vehicles plugging in up there to our park and ride. Okay?
Do you want me to let you know what's happening on that?
Yeah, sure.
The ordinance goes into effect November 30th, the ordinance that got passed.
Okay.
So we're having temporary signs put up, Rebecca's getting those together, that explain the ordinance and will allow us to enforce it. And then we'll get the better metal signs put up later.
Okay.
And it can be enforced by the constable or the second constable.
Okay.
And that's the 30th.
Is that it can be or that it will be? Because it seems to be.
Well, we'll say will be.
Okay.
It can't be enforced right now until the 30th?
It's not in
Ordinance
effect.
is 30?
Correct, the 30th. So
Yeah.
4 days from now. Right, so it's.
And the second constable is currently aware of the position
I
and
don't
willing
know.
to do it?
I don't know. I
Maybe we
will.
need to look into that too.
Oh, yeah, no, it's, yeah.
He was appointed.
Well, we
And
have.
we didn't get anything back that said he wouldn't want to do it, so evidently if he's appointed, he should be contacted if the first constable's not available. That's my take on it.
And so what was
Anything
it?
else?
That's how it worked when I was there.
Oh,
Most of
okay.
it, but anyways, the other item is, got a complaint about plowing on Front Street. Evidently, there was a vehicle parked there. And it's my understanding that it prevented some of that street from being plowed. So anyways, while I was made aware of it, I decided to take a ride that morning because I was headed out anyways. And I noticed a vehicle on Russell Street that probably shouldn't have been there. And during the storm. And then the one on Front Street, I guess, my understanding, if you had to get a fire truck or an ambulance through there, you probably wouldn't have been able to get a vehicle through there because of the way this vehicle was parked. So maybe some attention towards that.
Yeah, and did you call it in?
No, I didn't call it in because I was advised after the fact, but I took a ride up by there, to be honest with you. I had to squeeze through. The other item is, I know, just mentioning it, because we've talked about the library budget. I think it was Woodstock, our community to the north of us, that had done it a few times. It was an article from the select board as far as doing the budget, whether the select board does the budget or a library board does the budget. We just wanted to mention that if we're to think about any types of articles, whether that or any other articles, that we discussed one here tonight. Now's the time to think about it, because it's up to this board here to put it on for a vote, whether it be from town meeting or however.
What did the article say?
Well, I think it was, without going back into it, they had a board, this town, where the library board already set the budget. Then the voters voted to have the select board set the budget, but I'd have to check it out and give you more specifics, or you can Google it.
Oh,
Do we have any idea when we are gonna see the library budget?
At your
Yes.
next meeting.
is it the next meeting?
I thought so.
She wanted to be at a different meeting. Either the next one or the following
I
one.
thought she didn't want to be at this.
It could be.
meeting.
Okay.
She'll be at the next one.
And my last remaining
So
item,
not on the 3rd, so on the 3rd, December 3rd? Okay.
and my
Sorry,
last
go ahead.
item before we head into the executive session, the RSMS paving schedule, is that something that could be posted on the website so people can see that?
Sure.
I don't remember getting a copy also, and I'd like to read it, take a look at
You
it.
guys on the
Couple years
board
ago.
got them,
Yeah.
actually last year when Ben came on.
Okay.
Like,
But we can get you another copy if you would
Well,
like
but we're
one.
supposed to at the website where it could be accessible.
We
Okay.
might have to put a claim here and there, but because as budgets don't stay, things get bumped, so.
Right, right.
I
Right,
mean, it's, well, they'll figure it out, it's June 2018.
yeah.
That's a plan, but so far we've been doing fairly well, sticking to it.
I got one more thing. I guess I gotta ask you. I had also, someone was mentioning to me about some pothole repairs at the town shed. Do you know about that?
Oh, up there, yeah. Yep, we patched the potholes up there.
How'd you do it? Or they were curious about the method that was being done and
I'm sure they just dumped them in there and compacted them, but I wasn't there when they did it. There's so many, if you drive up there, there's so many holes up there.
so,
And we were gonna try to drag shim the box in there, but the weather didn't cooperate with us. That's one of the last things we're gonna try to do for the year. But so, they were bad enough, deep enough, so how they did it exactly, no, I don't know. But,
well, I heard how they did it and the person was suggesting maybe we did it with a proper way. They felt like that's a waste of money. We have a new roller and a grader and using shovels and a 1-ton and a sidewalk roller was temporary and then we'll go fix it again. Right?
yeah, if that's, is that, what you see up there is it was grindings that were put down, it's kind of scraped down there, put down number of years ago, followed by a chip seal at the tool shed, and then those grindings are starting to, they're breaking free, and no matter what you do, if you do that the right way, you waste a lot of time. And what they did, if they shoveled it in there, put it with a plate compactor,
Oh, I thought it was more in the dirt part.
no, dirt, no, this is as you drive it in.
Backside?
No, the front side. As
Okay.
you're driving in, you'll see a lot of fresh patchings in there. And as
Just
bad as that
open it.
is, you're not gonna wanna waste too much time putting that in, cutting things out, because it's not gonna stay. It is a Band-Aid.
Okay.
All of that probably should be ripped up at some point, redone, but before you do that, it's gotta be lowered. Because if you start overlaying too much in there, you're gonna raise the grade,
Okay.
it'll drain
I
the
thought
back,
it
and
was
then
there.
it'll overload it.
What have we done with the potholes that were there when I was up there, like,
That's what we're talking about.
when I meant in the dirt itself, I wouldn't say they're potholes.
Oh, in the dirt.
Yeah, the dirt
I
section,
don't remember seeing many in the dirt, but unless they're behind around a building.
because I mentioned it here about the springs.
They are.
Behind the building? Yeah. So if they're behind the building,
Yeah.
the guy, I would assume Mike would probably, if they're bad enough, hit him with a grader, grade them out.
I see we've got weather stripping on the garage door sign, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking, those doors are
Yeah, we're looking to replace them.
not in good shape
This
at all.
fall, they need to be replaced. They're bad.
What are they putting
Original doors.
Propane generator up there?
Yeah, the generator's in, we're waiting for the tank right now. We're gonna have Bart put the tank in. I believe it's in, it might be all wire right now, but it is a slab in the back, so if you're driving down to the tool shed, look behind the building, behind the fire station, you'll see the generator right there. So we poured the slab for it.
So-
What was the propane decision? Was that made, where was that made? To get a propane?
No, that was made last year, back when you guys decided.
When we voted on it
We voted on
at
it
the
a
town
while.
meeting, it was voted, It didn't say specifically a propane or a fuel oil generator. But I think the thinking was that if we able to get propane from Bart has a deal that if you get propane from them, then you don't have to rent the tank. So the tank is free and all the headaches that come with it.
Every company has
With a
it.
tank. No, they don't. Not everybody. You get a tank from somebody else, they don't, they rent you the tank. There's a-
Well, several other companies, if you fill it with air.
But anyway,
Right.
I think that's what's thinking why it was propane. They can advertise it in the shopper. I think I've seen ads in the shopper that they advertise it.
And it's a little more complex than that, because we don't, I talked about that, I'm still going with Bart, they're gonna put it in. You don't burn enough propane to make it worth their while, so we're gonna be paying the installation costs. We're not buying the tank, but you're paying probably a little premium, more than a premium than you would normally, so. At some point down the road, we can buy the tank.
As much as you use it, you can walk across, get diesel from the pump and put it in that way too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways.
Yeah, but it is propane, it's waiting for the tank, or when they determine where exactly we want it, we'll actually put some concrete blocks down, so it can sit on the concrete blocks. And it'll be in the same area.
And it's something so it doesn't get hit.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, is there a need for an executive session tonight?
We were not prepared. We were prepared for that, for the
Next week.
next,
Oh,
for the
next
meeting
one?
on
Okay.
Tuesday.
But-
And you have your books for
We
Tuesday.
were going to discuss an insurance contract, but they haven't got the information ready, so we can't go with that.
I mean, I
Does,
can,
do we want to just talk about it?
We can do a brief
Yeah.
one
and I can
now.
distribute
Several-
preliminary.
Yeah.
Okay, so we probably should do that in executive session,
Yes.
contract.
But I'm sorry, I don't have the.
I got it right here, Tommy. We
Oh,
need both motions actually to go into contracts. You got yours handy, stuff in there?
I get it.
Yeah, I got it right here. Right there.
Okay, so
Hey, whoever knows.
Yeah, I'm good.
You gotta move the two double on there.
I move to enter into an executive session where, to discuss contracts where premature general knowledge is clearly placing municipality at a substantial disadvantage,
Negotiating strategy.
negotiating strategy and contract.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made, second, to go into executive session to discuss contract matter. For premature knowledge would put us at a disadvantage for strategy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carried, go ahead.
Do we bring anyone in?
oh yeah, us.
Yeah, with those, yeah, on the second one when he gets.
Oh, did you say that?
No, but he was on the second.
Oh, right, yes.
Okay, I move to enter into an executive session to discuss contracts. Under provisions of Title I, Section 313A1 of the State of Vermont statutes, and to invite into that executive session the finance officer and the municipal manager.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made to go into executive session to discuss contracts. All those in favor would say aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. We're in executive session.